I learned a lot about myself going through the divorce and after the divorce. I was definitely wounded deeply. I channel a lot of that energy into my work. At that time, I had just opened up a new studio with Kevin Hart in the Valley. When you embark on an entrepreneurial journey, you think you know what you're getting signed up for, but you really don't.
Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it. How's things in Vegas?
Things are good. It just heated up a little bit today. It was 87 yesterday and it jumped to 97. So it's officially pre-summer for us.
Dude, it gets like an oven there.
It does.
It's a totally different type of hot than we got in Dallas.
It is. It's dry. So in some aspects, it's more tolerable when Dallas doesn't get too humid. But for me, the dry heat isn't as bad as the humidity.
Yeah, it's dude, I know here you just dripping sweat. And when I got hair like this, dude, forget about it.
Yeah, you growing it out, huh?
I'm quarantined. I ain't got no barber.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm learning to do my little fades and whatnot myself, like I did back in the day, like when I was in high school.
Yeah, looking tight. So, I'm finding myself like flicking my head back.
Yeah, you can go retro with it. It could be the 70s right now. It could be the 80s. It could be the 90s. I mean, you good for like five decades right there.
I know, man. I'm trying to live through the decades, bringing back I got the plaid suit, and I have the plaid suit for the show today. But
there you go.
Plaid polyester suit.
There you go.
So you've had your life's been an adventure, man. You being a singer-songwriter and producer and manager of artists, and got some records on the wall, and up and down in Hollywood and all types of cool stuff, man. And now married in Vegas and living it up. So take me through a little bit of that, man. What were some of the highs and lows, and what kept you going?
Well, I mean, I've been through a lot. My entrepreneur career has been probably about 20 years now. So there's been a lot of highs and lows. And, when you embark on an entrepreneurial journey, you think you know what you're getting signed up for, but you really don't until you get into the trenches. And of course, there's levels to it. So the greater levels, greater devils, as they say. And I have had to learn a lot personally, and thickening my skin. I'm an optimist. I have a certain risk tolerance, obviously, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And, so over the years, it's been a little bit like a title fight. You go in with a lot of vigor, a lot of passion. Round one, you go in and you adjust. You learn your opposition, your opponent. Mm-hmm. You go back, you rest, recalibrate. You go back round two, and you have a little bit more confidence because you think you're still filling out your opponent, but you kind of know what's going to happen, and so you go in with a little bit more passion and vigor, and then you rest, go back round three, and you might get hit, you might get clocked, you might get down for the count, you might get an 8 count, and you really got to go back to the drawing board, and you got to say, wow, I'm hurting over in my ribs. I got to block. I got to be defensive now. Make sure he doesn't hit me in the ribs too hard. Got to watch my stick and move. Maybe I need to pivot and do a whole different, go southpaw on him and do something totally different. So I think, obviously I'm a boxing fan. You can see Ali on the wall and Pacquiao, Holyfield. And I think this is a big metaphor in terms of an entrepreneur journey, and then life will knock you down anyway, even if you're a 9-to-5 regular Joe. But what's kept me going is really a sense of purpose at the end of the day, because when I started my entrepreneur journey, I was leaving a job, a cushy job selling BMWs. I was very young. I was the youngest guy on the floor by far selling BMWs, and I was doing very well in Arlington, Texas. And, I was driving 5 Series, 7 Series, Z3s. I was driving, fancy cars, making 6 figures, living the life of a bachelor, doing well. And I saw a path that I didn't want to go down. I saw myself being normalized, and selling cars wasn't necessarily my dream, but I was able to be innovative there. I created a product which I sold to Moritz, who I worked for, and I sold to all the dealers, all the major dealers in the state of Texas. That afforded me to get some money and do what I really wanted to do, which was move to LA, which I did almost 20 years ago now.
Wait, what was the product?
Back in the mid-90s, Texas came up with a law where you had to color in paper plates, and you had to put the date, and you had to put the date of sale, the expiration date, customer's information. You had to essentially color big numbers and on a plate. And so all these car salesmen had to figure out 21 days from the date of sale, and they had to color in the blocks and whatnot. And I saw an opportunity because I saw so much frustration, and then every freaking car salesman in Texas had to do this. So I created this thing called Texas Plate Maker. Some car salesmen back in the mid-90s will know what this is, because I literally sold it to about 90% of all the dealers in the state of Texas. But what happened was I created stamps. This was the first version. I created 10 stamps, 0 through 9. They were all about 2 inches big, because this plate was about like so. And I had a calendar. It was a little kit. You open it up. It had a calendar, which was 21 days from every sale date. It had all the stamps in there, the ink, the tape to seal the numbers. And I made 10. I invested in the stamps, and I made 10. I think it maybe cost me $1,500 or something to get all these stamps and the kits and everything. And I took it to Mr. Moritz, and I said, I want to pitch this to our sales manager, Pat. It's his last name. I forget his name. But basically, I took it to him. He lost his mind. He bought one for the dealership. Mr. Moritz bought one for all of his dealerships. I took it to D&M Leasing across the street. They bought one for every one of their salesmen. I took it to AutoNation. They bought one for all their salesmen. Make a long story short, I was thinking like $2 to $5 grand a day selling these kits all over, everywhere I went.
Wow.
And about a month after that, I turned in my resignation because I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Well, that's definitely entrepreneurial, man. You find a problem and create a solution for it. And as long as I've known you, I've never known that story.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome, dude. The Texas Plate Maker, is that what it's called?
That was called the Texas Plate Maker. And
that's cool.
I learned a lot out of that. I went and got, I got my first DBA. I got registered. I did a provisional patent, I remember, on it. I did all this stuff. I learned how to do graphic design. I learned how to market. I learned how to present. I got on the road. I went and sell. It was intense. And I had a goal, and I wanted to sell every major dealer, and most of the small mom and pops. I sold them all. Small mom and pops, $139 it was, and it cost me about $15 to make.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you on the road for doing that?
Man, I did that for a year. I would go out and I would hit Houston, and I'd make like maybe 15, 20 grand, and then I'd hit San Antonio, and then I'd hit Austin, and I'd hit El Paso. I drove all the way to El Paso. I went to I went all over the state, Corpus Christi, Galveston, every little city you could think of. And then that got me into software. I actually created a program, which I ended up selling to Lexus and Sewell. I sold all their dealers. That was the first application I made. That was probably 98, something like 97, 98. I created a software program, and that was called Express Tag. I changed the name, and it was a software floppy. You could put it in, and the internet just happened at that point. You could also log in, put all the information on a form, and it would print out from your printer. So I then took that idea and I created a timestamp, which I call, this is going deep. I didn't know I was going to go this route.
I love it.
I created this thing called Tracked, which is temporary registration against auto theft, because what was happening, people was taking dealer plates to paper tags and put it on cars and steal cars and drive around with it for whatever and then dump it. Because there was no way to track a paper plate.
Right.
So I created the software, printed it out. It was laser, it was waterproof, and it had a barcode and a number, which this could scan and get the customer registration. So it was a temp registration while we're waiting 30 to 45 days for the hard plates to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a patent on that, and I sold that software and sold that to another tech company. And that was my first exit. That was 98, 99. And I took that money and I moved to California and started my record label.
That's what funded the California venture and the record label.
Yeah.
I never knew that, man. Mm-hmm. That's freaking awesome. So then, you got your early days as a tech entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Which funded you to get to LA and get involved in the music business and record label and kind of go and go and go. And then now you're a tech entrepreneur again in the app development space. And you're still songwriting, aren't you?
So still songwriting, still in tech. So tech and content has been my world and my passion for a long time. And what's really grounded me through all of that is faith. So faith is like my anchor, which allows me to have the ambition and the stamina to endure a lot of these ventures. And then, what excites me is making content, whether it be music primarily as my staple, and then venturing into video and movies and other avenues of content, music videos, campaigns, commercials, that kind of thing. But yeah, I still write songs, and I still executive produce albums and projects like that, and yeah.
So what's you just worked on Ray J's newest album, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that one called again? Emerald City?
That was Emerald City was the last one. Mm-hmm. That was he teamed up with Brandy on that one, as he did with the album before, which was Redemption, which was a movie visual album.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually produced that whole visual album, didn't you?
That's right. And we've been releasing singles, because we actually made about 2 albums worth of material. We've been releasing singles over the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. And we're just about, we had planned on releasing it earlier this year, but pandemic and tours and a lot of events didn't happen. So we plan on releasing that on another streaming platform later this year, Redemption. That's going to be a visual album with both video content and music together in a storyline over 6 episodes, 10 minutes each. So
10 minutes each.
Yeah.
Such a cool concept, and it's really taken off. A lot of people are doing that right now. So I think you and your team were one of the first in that space, right? To really kind of tackle the visual album concept.
Right, and it had been done on a small level by a lot of indies, and then Beyonce kind of was the first mainstream artist, I think, who did it in a big way when she did Lemonade back in the day. Mm-hmm. And, so yeah, it's a lot of experimentation going on. The album bundle, the experiential album, is becoming a thing. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some really cool out of the box stuff when it comes to dropping albums.
Yeah, I know you will, man. Ever since I've known you, it's always cool out of the box stuff.
Yeah.
I've been knowing you a long time, man. We've been through some trenches together, bro.
Indeed. Yes, we got some stories for sure.
Yeah, plenty. So, yeah, I mean, we could talk about the business stuff all day, but the truth of it with you when it comes to like your why and overcoming your obstacles and turning them into opportunities. One of the biggest hits that I ever saw you take throughout our working relationship and friendship and all that was your first marriage.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, uh, just out of nowhere
Yeah.
ending. You know,
Yeah.
and it was very hard for you, man.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember how hard you took that. Um, but your will and your faith, like you said, really pulled you through fairly quickly.
Mhm.
And now the situation that you're in with the beautiful fiance that you got,
That's right.
that whole entire thing just opened up all these really cool doors to a life that you had been dreaming of. So what was that little point in time like for you?
Well, I had been, before I had gotten married, I had been single for a long time. Like, really, I really hadn't had any long term serious relationships for about 7, 8 years.
Mhm.
Meeting her, and I had really dived myself into work. I had got a chance to work with a lot of big artists, got a chance to do some big events, some live stream events, some publishing deals, record deals. I got a chance to tour a lot of the world, and I really wanted to start a family. I really wanted to settle down because when I moved to LA, I pretty much just hopped in the car and went out with not really a lot of family or friends or relationships. So I decided to go ahead and commit to marriage, and her family became my family. So I thought I really vested a lot emotionally into it. So I think the perception of the dream of the life that I was going to have, and building that, and we had gotten married, got the house. Was I thought we were planning a family, but I found out later that she was not planning a family. She was taking medication. She was on the pill, and I thought I was working on a baby. She wasn't. Uh,
Mm.
but I think I learned a lot out of that, and looking back on it, I learned a lot about myself going through the divorce and after the divorce, and I was definitely wounded deeply. But I channeled a lot of that energy into my work. Obviously, the breakup diet, I got in shape, and I just at that time I had just moved out of the house, and she got the house, and I moved into an apartment, and went and just started my new opened up a new studio with Kevin Hart in the Valley, and it was a lot of influencers. We
Beautiful studio.
Yeah, beautiful studio. We shared,
Beautiful studio, yeah.
and we were in there with a bunch of YouTube creators and influencers, and it was definitely on the cutting edge and a budding industry of influencer marketing and a lot of cool things that we were getting into with Look Who, my media company. And I just channeled a lot of that frustration into being creative, and I just dived into my faith and was like, God, like, lead me. Obviously, I went into the marriage pretty quickly. We got married in like 5, 6 months.
I remember, yeah.
So I was definitely rushing it. I didn't know who I was marrying. And she obviously was growing and going through her own challenges as well. But I learned what led me to that. Um, I definitely don't want to badmouth her or what she did, or what led to the demise of the relationship. But I would say that I learned a lot about tendencies of myself to give myself emotionally and give myself over to uh, people who don't necessarily deserve uh, or cherish that. They don't really, So I think you got to be very wise in who you give yourself to, time wise, emotionally, effort wise. Not everybody deserves it. Okay. Whereas at that time, the people pleaser part of me, the naive part of me was, it left myself exposed. emotionally. So I learned basically the biggest risk that you take beyond anything is your emotion, your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
The good book says guard your heart at all costs.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to make sure if you're going to give your heart to something, anything, especially a person, that it's the right scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, I think when something like that happens, when you're invested so highly in a situation or in a person, and it turns out being completely false or completely cloaked in narcissism or sociopathic tendencies or whatever it may be,
Right.
that's a good opportunity for also, I think, to take a deeper look at ourselves to say, okay, what is it maybe about me
Mm.
that could have attracted this type of person in my life?
Right.
What kind of internal conflict am I experiencing that even allowed that to happen? So some of the biggest freaking growth can come from that.
Absolutely. It happened for me. I learned that I'm an empath. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Absolutely, I am. Yeah, yeah,
And what happens is, one of the biggest keys that happens when you go through an emotional blow like that or a major setback in life is you got to reflect. You got to see what role that you played in and take responsibility for it and learn your strengths, weaknesses, learn more about yourself and embrace yourself.
yeah,
Out of that, I couldn't sleep. That's when I kind of got insomnia. After divorce, I had a hard time sleeping because my mind was trying to fix this Rubik's cube of why, like really trying to figure out where is the breakdown of the relationship. How could I be with a person who is now treating me like I don't exist, like I don't matter, like this could be so cold to I didn't. It was the first time I experienced that level of coldness, right? Which is what the narcissist does. It's really a disease.
yeah,
Narcissistic personality disorder is really a disease, and it's a very perverted emotional state that the person's in that allows them to be abusive in an emotional way. But basically, learning that I was an empath, it was something that I had to embrace. It wasn't like I had to change myself. I learned like I was designed that way, and that I just have to be wise, more discerning about you know how I expose myself, but loving and caring and being the nurturing part is not a bad thing. You just got to know how to manage that, you know, So, but the narcissist is really can be very welcoming and very loving for a period of time. Then the real them comes out, and you start to see the cold, nasty, really hurtful part, And what I learned out of that is that I have been attracting narcissist personalities my whole life in business partnerships,
hmm
relationships. And then I learned why I was the way I was. It had a lot to do with my upbringing, but also I had a disposition. My natural personality type was more empath. But I actually, at that time, I had another business partner, Jim. I won't say his last name.
Of course. Yeah,
The things that you'll definitely see about the narcissist is that they have a very the lack of empathy is something that is very common. The reason why it's very hard for the narcissist to have close friendships is because they find it very difficult to be a friend. They find it very difficult to maintain friendships for long periods, 5, 10, 15 years, because they're abusive in a lot of ways. But the empath will tolerate that.
hmm
So as everybody's freaking out at the absurdity of this person, the empath will be right next to them.
yeah,
I think it's pretty common knowledge that our president is more of a narcissist, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because if you get close to the narcissist, chances are you will get hurt. Okay, but the narcissist can be very, very successful. They can be very successful, but they also have a very hard time being empathetic, and so therefore they can be reckless.
Yeah.
With people, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a disease, you know, and I don't necessarily say the word narcissist liberally because not everybody's that. I know it's a popular word, but and there's different degrees, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of them in business, and there's a lot of them in Hollywood. Me coming from Texas, I did not know the culture. I did not know the dynamics of certain personalities types that are very seductive because they're charismatic people. They can be very good hosts and very charming for a season, and then they get those hooks in, and then you see
Leeches.
the devil come out. You know?
Leeches, bro.
So
Yeah.
I see it as a disease. You know, it's a sad thing because it's very hard to for them to change because in a lot of ways they're victims to a lot of their own behavior. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the way kind of just the image that we've been fed for so long of what beauty looks like, or what life should look like, just kind of being fed the whole consumeristic idea over time, with constant subconscious like imagery being circulated that's all about domination, it's all about what you can get, and it's all about, at any cost, I'm going to win no matter what you do. That type of messaging is so ingrained in our DNA that it's just part of the fabric of society. I honestly believe wholeheartedly, and I know this is a little bit like it's kind of deep and conspiracy theorist sounding, but if you think about it, it really kind of makes sense. I honestly believe things would be completely different now if, when television came out, if the type of programming that was created and was made popular was different and not fear-based and not I'm going to get you before you can get me based, I think we would have a totally different society right now. Because if you look at the trends, if you look at the mental health trends from, like, if you were to sit down with your great grandpa, you know what I mean, and talk about how things were in their neighborhood before the radio came out, how people treated each other, you know what I mean? Just common courtesy was pretty much the norm. Sure, wacky things still happen. There's always been some freaking Barnaby chewing tobacco spitting person that wants to shoot everybody in town. You know what I mean?
Wild West.
Yeah, there's always been that. But I think the predominant way was about, brotherly love, common courtesy, give your neighbor a freaking cup of milk if they don't have any milk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Know your own neighborhood. Then radio came out and all this mass messaging started happening. So the mental shift went one way.
Yeah.
In line with what the messaging was.
Right.
Then it shifts to TV. Now it's not audio, it's audio and visual. So you're having a double dose of a specific mindset creation. I think I heard someone say one time that's really, really cool. It's called television programming for a reason. And it's television because it tells a vision. And it's just so interesting to me, like if you were to look at the spikes and the trends of mental health issues since the time TV came out, and now social media took over, and anxiety is at an all-time freaking high. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. That's
and yeah, I mean, like content and media and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's why I love the technology we have these days. We can use it for good, man.
Yeah,
We can talk about cool stuff.
and it definitely needs to happen because I'm doing this other show actually called Hollywood Frequency. It's something I've been working on with a buddy of mine that lives in Hollywood. He lives actually right by the sign. And we've been studying a lot on frequency and vibration and signals. And I think it's becoming common knowledge now that this is an antenna. And even thoughts, words, vibration, it sends a signal and it causes disruption in any environment. So if you're pumping certain things through programming, music, video, on social media with a certain energy to it, if it's negative, if it's evil, if it's you know, if it's something that is more fight or flight, more um, uh, something about me against you, or if it's something where it's antagonistic, that's
Hmm.
change people's behavior. It's a frequency behind it, you know.
Yeah.
And people are waking up. I mean, all this information is coming, but more and more people are seeking because they're discomforted. They're uneasy inside. So that anxiety that's going up is causing trauma. It's causing suicide. It's causing drug use. It's causing a lot of depression. A lot of people getting addicted to opioids, or whether it be meth, or whether it be prescription drugs. People are starting to feel it, so they're starting to seek answers and they
Yeah.
can't understand what's going on. Why am I depressed? What's happening? And there's some of them are turning off social media. They're turning off the TV. They're trying to find other alternatives for answers because systemic problems persist in medicine and food and programming and media. It's a lot of that stuff. So the question begs is what's behind the scenes? What are the forces behind all this? And
Yeah.
what's the agenda? What's the program? You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's a lot of, people that are stepping up, like yourself, that are like, we got to let the light happen. We got to be the change. We got to put the messages out there. We got to make people aware. So that's one of the reasons why the content that I'm focusing on now is really to be developed to speak to the younger version of myself. What could I be telling myself 10 years ago, 20 years ago? What kind of messaging, what kind of programming, what I want to put in front of me? Because if we're not making and creating that content, then it's not going to get made. It's not going to be out there. People are going to only have one representation of what is. Like in hip hop, they said, I'm just keeping it real. This is what happens in the hood. You know, hoeing around. I'm gonna take your girl. What I'm saying, this is what's in the music, right? So what happened?
Yeah.
And like, I need to get leaned out. I'm gonna take your girl. I'm gonna hit every broad I can hit, and it influences you, whether you know it or not. It influences you. So it's a little bit disruptive. I mean, I love what Kanye said about it. He was like, "I'm done with the culture." He had to make a massive shift to be anti-culture because he looked at himself and he didn't like what he saw. He started prostituting himself, and I've been guilty of it, Lyndon.
Hmm.
Going into a direction, getting involved with certain projects, making certain projects to be part of the culture, to be popular. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Trend. And when I looked at it, I didn't like what I saw. So now I'm in a place where I'm very deliberate, very intent on the why, the purpose. It's got to be a high frequency for that purpose. It can't be to be accepted by the culture per se. It can't be just to make a buck. It's got to have a higher intention around it. So,
Yeah.
out of all of my setbacks and all of my lessons, it really was steering me to the higher version of myself. Um, and nothing does that like failure or perceived failure. Steering you back closer to your purpose. Which is the highest version of yourself. There's a lot of different versions you can be at any given moment.
Yeah.
You will strive to be the highest version of yourself, because a lower version might seem more acceptable, it might seem um, more prosperous, but it's not going to bring you that peace. It's not going to bring you that purpose that you really need to strive for, in my opinion. There it is, right there.
Everything you're talking about was printed in 1937.
Right? What he was doing when he did that. Well, yes, he did.
This bro was way ahead of his time, man.
Yeah.
This book is fantastic. I just finished reading it for the third time, and this time I'm going back and using it as a textbook. And I went and ordered this. This is the workbook version. So it takes all the chapters and creates like exercises and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really dope. Did you get a chance to read Outwitting the Devil yet?
Dude, I read it the year after it came out.
Okay.
You know the story. You know the story behind it, right?
I know the story about it, yeah.
Bro, guess who's going to be on the show?
Who?
The president of the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
When is this happening?
He told me to get in touch with him this week so we could set up a time.
That's dope. That's really dope. I'll tell you what, man. You know what I got out of that whole thing that was the most profound part of it? Is that he said, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. What only matters is if I perceive it to be real or not, so it doesn't really matter. And then I thought, that's a cop-out when I first read it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cop-out. If you really had a conversation with Lucifer, you need to represent whether you did or not. Is this fiction or is this real nonfiction? I need to know. But the more I thought about it, the more truth it became, because we've all heard of the placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
50% of the time people get well because they think they're taking some medicine. Is that a real statistic? Yeah, it's scientific document. So that tells you a lot about how the human mind works.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's more of a revelation to go ahead and say, it doesn't matter. Because if I walk around thinking that it does matter, then I don't see the bigger truth. The bigger truth is that what only matters is what I perceive.
Yeah.
What I perceive. Now you're gonna see certain truths. You're gonna see certain truths whether you believe it or not. If I drop this glass, it's gonna shatter because gravity is real, right? But if there's a situation where I'm sick and I take a placebo and I get better and I feel better, then I find out that it was a placebo, it wasn't even really medicine, then I learned something about myself.
Mm-hmm.
A whole other kind of truth is that the main ingredient that matters is what I think. And I thought that was so dope.
So dope.
Yeah.
That book is amazing.
Yeah.
I've read it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
It's so good. And when I found out that, he wrote it, I think a few years after he wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
He wrote it after it was Think and Grow Rich and then The Law of Success. The 15 principles of the Law of Success.
Yeah.
And that's like, you want to talk about a book. This is beast mode right here, man.
Yeah.
But I think he did Outwitting the Devil after that. And the funny part about Outwitting the Devil, which I didn't even know until I read about it, but, his wife was very scared about that book. She didn't want him to put that book out.
I can imagine.
So the original manuscript, this was 1941.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
The original manuscript was locked in his safe.
Right.
And they didn't print the book till 2012.
Yeah.
Because I think it was his nephew, that inherited the rights to the manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
And he was part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and the Napoleon Hill Foundation teamed up with Sharon Lecter, who is the co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay.
And she did the foreword by it. And not only did she do the foreword, she would throughout the book. There's little excerpts. She would it was the original manuscript from the early 40s. The book was, but Sharon Lecter would go in and she'd leave her little comments on portions of the book, like, "Wow, this is exactly what's going on right now."
Yeah.
I mean, this dude was prophetic. So that's one reason why I wanted to start this show. I wanted to talk about really cool concepts that are truth, that are literal inherent truth, and just want to empower as many people as possible to do their own homework.
Yeah.
Do your own research. You don't have any excuses anymore. You have access to every single thing that you need online right here. You can learn anything that you want. You can create any skill that you want. You've got no excuse.
Right.
No more excuses.
Yeah. That's true.
Shut up, guy. So leading into that, the love of your life now.
Yes.
Yes. You guys have a house in Vegas. Now,
yes.
I said fiance. Did you get married?
It's not official yet.
Okay, I see the ring.
The ring. Well, I have a theory. Let me tell you a little bit about it.
Okay, what's up?
I was married once. So was she. And we both devoted ourselves. We're both empath in a lot of ways. Very nurturing, loving people. And we both really partnered with somebody who didn't have the same idea of what relationship or love was, nor commitment, And again, there's no judgment. It's just what it is and what it is, right? So what I learned from that is that you got a lot of people who are quote unquote married that don't act like it. So where is marriage? To me, marriage is here and here.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily a contract.
Right.
I remember when Oprah and Stedman were together. You had a lot of people, she was big in the middle America suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
They've been together, 30 years now, something like that. A lot of people was like, well, are they married or are they not? And Oprah was like, we're married, but not at the courthouse. We're life partners. You know what I mean? So we're definitely life partner. I found my life partner. She found her life partner. And that's what this represents.
I love it.
The thing I learned is that you shouldn't necessarily marry someone just because you love them. You should marry someone that you are going to be a partner with in life, someone you can grow with, elevate with, someone that gives you that feeling like partnership.
Yeah.
And that's what I have with her, and I haven't had that with anyone else.
Yeah, she's got that drive. She's got that entrepreneurial spirit. She's got that hustle bone in her, and wanting to make a difference all at the same time. And that's such a good match for you, dude. I'm so proud of you. And when I saw the ring, I was like, no, dude, he and I are good enough friends. I should know if he got married or not.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
I actually asked her for this when we got engaged. I was like, you're my wife. We're engaged, so you're technically my fiance, but I see you as my wife. And I'd like for the world to see me as your husband. So she got this for my birthday.
So cool, dude. I'm so happy for you, man.
Yeah. But we'll get it legalized at some point. But I my personal opinion,
well, you're in the right city to do it quick.
This is, to me, there's a lot of legal ramifications to marriage. In business, it can be detrimental to your partner. You know what I mean? That's a whole different show. But it's a legal thing, marriage, in terms of the state.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the ceremony of your heart and your message to the world, that's what really matters, and that's what we have. But we'll make it official, and you'll definitely get the invite. But I think the commitment between God, man, and another person is where it's really at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like faith. Like, you can pretend and you can do something that's for show, but It's your daily practice is what makes it real or not. But anyway, I digress.
I love it, dude. I'm so happy for you guys, man. And we got to wrap it up. But what I want to end with really quick is,
yes,
you guys are my sponsor, and I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, man.
If you haven't got a chance to watch the first episode, got a little commercial for it at the end.
Absolutely.
I got my link thrown in there, you know what I mean? So just a quick little blurb on how you came up with this.
Right.
With Herberol and
funny story, man.
Yeah.
With that, because when I first started working with Ray J, and some of the first records we did was with him and Chris Brown, and I had worked with Chris many years before that, but between him and Chris, all the engineers and a lot of the artists we were working with when we were doing the album, when we first started doing records, 2015, they were all taking Adderall. Okay, now Adderall is a legal drug. There's nothing wrong with taking Adderall. A lot of people need it for focus. I think it's big business. Obviously, in America, it's like $14 million a year.
That's all. That's 2 or 3 episodes right there.
Yeah. Just for one drug. Now, I didn't know much about it. I had heard about it. I had no idea how much of an impact it was in the music business. And then I learned that 80% of American students do Adderall, college students around finals. Not necessarily full time, but 80% around finals. So working with Ray was like, "Yo, this is the go-to for the whole industry." I was like, "Man, I see a lot of the negative effects with him and some other people with it." So I was really on the hunt to see if somebody had something that was organic that really simulated what that drug does, Adderall. And about a year and a half of really kind of looking into it, I realized you can get something that's mild in terms of the come up. Sometimes you can go too high with Adderall.
Yeah.
Nice, focused, energetic, calm feeling, which is what people get with Adderall. And the funny thing about it is that, I'm an idea guy. I have a lot of different ideas. So when I met my partner, Nadesh, she wanted to do a business. Okay. And I was running Look Who, my media company, doing a lot of records and stuff. And we thought that we were going to go a different direction into a whole other industry. One day I mentioned to her, I was like, I got this thing I've been working on that I haven't really put out there. I told her about Herberol, and she loved the idea. So we really came together and really formulated the whole thing together. We found a manufacturer, we tested a bunch of products, and we worked collaboratively to make it the best it can be. And we put that out. It's been a couple of years now, about a year and a half, and it took off. The reviews blew us away. I mean, you can look at some of the reviews out there. There's hundreds of reviews between our site and Amazon and Walmart now. But it's really changed the lives of so many people that needed to find a natural alternative because, there's just a lot of negative side effects to Adderall and other stimulants, prescription drugs. And man, I couldn't be happier, number one, at helping people with it. And it's been a massive success. And to do that with the love of my life is just like the bonus on top.
So cool, dude. I love it, man. I swear by it. You guys are going to have to get some more in the mail. And I will tell you that the last time you guys sent me a supply of this stuff, I was so excited to get it. I took the scissors and I went to cut an envelope, and those cool Herberol stickers you mailed me, I straight cut them in half.
Oh, no.
I didn't know there were stickers in there. I was like, I got to get my Herberol. This stuff is dope. So yeah, when you send some more, I'm gonna need some more stickers.
We'll look you up. Well, I appreciate you giving us some love on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know how I am with products, dude. And if it's good and it works, I'm all about supporting it however I can, man. So I appreciate you guys believing in me enough to send it on over and let me give you guys a shout out and do what I can to help, you know, make a difference with good herbal stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it's about.
I don't want to wrap up the program without saying, just giving some people a few little nuggets when they're going through a challenge. Just really do your best to. I know it's easier said than done when you're in the fire, but really do your best to take a moment to pause, be still. Some people aren't into meditation, but if you can get into that, it's really good to just be completely still, calm your mind, and allow yourself to really reflect inward and say, what can I do to pivot in some way? That could be in business, it could be in your routine, it could be in your health, it could be in some way. How can I pivot, do a 180, and turn around and refine my vision and my focus to help myself? I think that if we look at every roadblock and every challenge or crisis, as it might feel, as an opportunity to make an exciting pivot, look at it as something that's exciting, and know and know and know in your heart and mind that you have the ability to get through that. If you will get up every day optimistic about that new direction, that refined vision, you can get through it. But really perceive it as an opportunity for something more exciting, because if you can get through it, it's definitely more exciting on the other side of
Amen. Absolutely, bro. Perfectly said, dude. Thank you for dropping that knowledge at the very end. It's a great takeaway, and I really like. I've been following a lot of Jim Rohn and reading a lot of Jim Rohn and watching a lot of his stuff. And one quote that I really like by him is, you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight.
it.
Just a few small disciplines, man. Just like like, hey, wait a minute. I need to get healthy. Maybe I should eat an apple a day. You know what I mean? So he talks a lot about apple a day. So, hey, man, I've been eating an apple a day. Like,
Yeah, keep the doctor away, they say.
absolutely. That's what they say. Well, hey, thanks for taking some time to be in here with us, man. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure connecting with you, bro. I miss you, man.
Likewise, brother. And thank you for having me. God bless. And we'll talk soon.
All right, brother. Peace. Give Middays my best.
Will do.